Alright, so UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Craig just wrapped up last night. Decent fight night, nothing too crazy, nothing too shocking that happened on the card. We mostly got the expected results out of the card. Main card was pretty decent, we had some really good, fun fights on that side of the card. A few good fights on the prelims as well, we'll go ahead and get into a couple of those. Christian Leroy Duncan absolutely melted Dennis Tululin. Somewhat competitive first round early on, but by the time round 2 came around, Dennis Tululin was just getting butchered. Christian Leroy Duncan was looking really good. He was throwing a lot of variety out there, really solid kicks, really solid boxing combinations, elbows once they got in close with each other. And Dennis Tululin just could not find a way out of the pressure that Christian Leroy Duncan was putting on him. And yeah, after a big barrage of strikes, Dennis Tululin goes down. Christian Leroy Duncan gets a TKO in the second round. Yeah, he's looking good, looking like a good unranked middleweight prospect. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. Joe Anderson Brito got a hilarious submission win over Jonathan Pierce. It was looking like Jonathan Pierce was going to have a standard solid wrestling performance, maintaining top control on Joe Anderson. Midway through the second round, Jonathan Pierce starts talking to him after he starts complaining about some maybe back of the head strikes. Didn't look too bad from the replay though. It looked like Joe Anderson Brito was trying to avoid the back of the head. Maybe a couple got through. Jonathan Pierce didn't like it very much though. He started complaining to the ref. Joe Anderson started making some goofy noises to make fun of him. Jonathan Pierce starts telling him to do something, to stand up and do something. Joe Anderson Brito proceeded to stand up and do something. He got a quick little ninja choke up against the cage. Made Jonathan Pierce tap very quickly afterwards. That was hilarious. And yeah, that puts Joe Anderson Brito on a 4-fight win streak. Got that win over Andre Fili. Got a win over Lucas Alexander as well. Now Jonathan Pierce, which is a very solid win. Yeah, looking like a good unranked featherweight prospect. I'm excited to see if they give him a ranked fight coming up next. Maybe not. I have a feeling they'll give Joe Anderson Brito like somebody right outside the top 15, close to where Jonathan Pierce is at. Next up on the main card, Uros Medic was looking really dangerous early on against Migtabek Orolbai. I hope that's a decent enough pronunciation. He was looking really dangerous on the feet, landing some really good shots. I'm surprised Orolbai was able to take a couple of those shots. They were landing super hard. Uros Medic was out there trying to kill him in the first few seconds of the first round. But his chain wrestling was too strong. He was too physical. He was able to keep chaining shots one after the other. Uros Medic did a good job of stopping it early on, but after a while it started to visibly wear on him. Later on in round 2, he ended up getting the submission. Solid win for Orolbai. He took this fight on super short notice and still comes out with a win, a finish nonetheless, against Uros Medic, who is a very solid fighter outside of the rankings at welterweight. So yeah, another exciting prospect to look out for on this card. Luana Pinheiro and Amanda Ribas had a really fun fight. Luana Pinheiro was going out trying to kill Amanda Ribas. She saw that Macy Barber fight against Amanda Ribas and must have just come to the conclusion that Amanda Ribas has a very suspect chin, which she seems to. But the problem is Luana Pinheiro was swinging super wild, putting everything into the shots she was throwing. And if you've seen Luana fight in the past, she does tend to slow down mid-second round. And that's what happened again in this fight. Amanda Ribas started to take over in the second round, edged that round out. And then in the third round, Luana was visibly exhausted. Amanda Ribas started putting it on. She started throwing that turning side kick to the body over and over and over. Eventually blasted Luana as she was trying to circle away with a big right hand. Luana still trying to circle to the left of Amanda Ribas, and instead of throwing the turning side kick to the body, she throws a spinning hook kick which lands flush on Luana. And then shortly after, Amanda Ribas blasts her with another big right hand. And that's the end of the fight. Great win for Amanda Ribas, who is now back down at strawweight. She looked a little bit better down in this division. She might be getting out-muscled a little less in this division. I don't think she's going to get too far in the rankings, though. She still had that problem that she had up at women's flyweight with keeping her head on the center line, not having very good boxing defense. So unless she improves that, I see her sitting around maybe top 10 at women's strawweight. We'll see though. She has some fun matchups ahead of her. Peyton Talbot made his UFC debut against Nick Aguirre, and they had a really competitive fight early on. Peyton Talbot was looking super confident throughout this fight though, especially towards the end of the second round. He could tell that Nick was fading and he just started putting on the pressure, throwing great combinations, having very creative and entertaining grappling defense. And yeah, this dude has all the confidence in the world. Definitely a prospect to look after at bantamweight. He got a really slick submission there in the third round. Early on, he did look a little defensively irresponsible, but that might be due to just an inexperienced thing. Definitely some parts of his game that can be exploited in the future, but he's got some amazing potential from what we've seen so far. Dude's 25 years old, 7-0. Yeah, dude probably has a good future in the UFC. He might have a few roadblocks here and there in his career, but this dude has got the confidence to take him to some really good places. Next up, Chase Hooper and Jordan Leavitt had a really, really fun grappling match. From the jump, they were scrambling back and forth, attacking and defending submissions left and right. It was an amazing fight to watch. Chase Hooper was attacking that armbar a couple of times. Jordan Leavitt impressively scrambled out of it on a couple of different occasions. About midway through round one, Chase Hooper ended up taking the back, getting that rear naked choke. There was nowhere for Jordan Leavitt to go. He tried to get the straight jacket in like Paddy Pimblett did. Jordan Leavitt defended that this time, but wasn't enough to stop the actual rear naked choke itself. So that's another first round submission for Chase Hooper, who's looking very confident now. Looked like he had a little physicality in his striking as well. He was looking a little explosive, had a little bit more pop in his shots. Don't think we should be pushing Chase Hooper super far yet though. I think one or two more Jordan Leavitt type opponents would be fun for him. Chase Hooper versus Paddy Pimblett also would be a super fun fight if Paddy ends up losing to Tony Ferguson later on. Next up, Michael Morales looked really good against Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews didn't even look bad. It's just Michael Morales was the faster, more athletic, more defensively responsible fighter in this matchup. And I cannot believe how young Michael Morales is. This dude looks like a vet that's been doing it for a long time. Yeah, this is the biggest prospect on the card easily, Michael Morales. I can't wait to see him start fighting ranked opponents. I feel like he should have been ready for that a fight or two ago at this point. Yeah, Michael Morales looks extremely good. Even his defense in this fight looked really good. He did eat a few big shots early on, especially in the first round from Jake Matthews, but he ate them well, had really good body language, didn't look like he was too bothered by the shots that landed. Yeah, we got to get Michael Morales somebody in the rankings next. Somebody around 12 to 15. Any of those spots would be fantastic for Michael Morales. If the UFC really wants to be mean, they can give him like Michael Chiesa. That would be an evil matchup. And next up in the main event, Brendan Allen absolutely shut down Paul Craig everywhere the fight went. On the feet, Paul Craig looked super uncomfortable. He was getting tagged up by that straight right. Brendan Allen was doing basically whatever he wanted to while the fight was striking. Paul Craig tried to pull guard a couple times, tried to shoot on Brendan Allen at least once in the fight, get himself in top position, but Brendan Allen was shutting that down. Took down Paul Craig very easily whenever he really felt like it and maintained top control without really too many issues. Paul Craig's biggest moment of the fight was definitely that calf slicer that he got when Brendan Allen was trying to lock in the choke, which was an excellent attack from Paul Craig. And then amazing defense from Brendan Allen to scramble out of that, start attacking leg locks immediately after. It was a fun fight. It was definitely fun, but definitely pretty one-sided for Brendan Allen. And yeah, early on in round 3, Brendan Allen gets that rear naked choke that he's made one of his signature moves. And yeah, very, very dominant win for Brendan Allen. Somewhat predictable, but you never know what Paul Craig's gonna bust out there from from bottom position. Where would I like to see Brendan Allen go next? It's hard to say. A lot of the middleweights are already booked up right now. I'd like to see Brendan Allen take on somebody a little bit lower in the rankings than like a Jack Hermanson, who's ranked one spot below him, but there's not really a whole lot of options right now. They're probably not going to give him Khamzat Chimaev. They're probably going to try to save Chimaev for somebody higher in the rankings. Maybe an Israel Adesanya once he returns. They might do a Marvin Vettori or Paulo Costa fight for Brendan Allen next. Either of those would be really fun. I'd be very interested in seeing either of those fights. And honestly, any of the guys in the top 10 would be a fun fight for Brendan Allen at this point. He's a really fun addition to the top 10 in this division. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. I definitely could see him fighting for a title at some point in the future. The thing that's always going to hold him back is going to be his boxing defense and his chin. We've seen him get rocked badly against Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland both. So that's one thing he's going to really need to cover up, or else it's going to just keep holding him back from getting higher up in the rankings and eventually to a title. And yeah, that basically wraps up my thoughts on the card. Decent enough fight night. Not too different from what most of us expected from it. Maybe a little bit more fun than we anticipated. There were some really good fights on here, especially everything on the main card was solid. The next fight night we've got on December 2nd, Dariush versus Saryukian, is going to be ridiculous. This card is looking like a pay-per-view without a title fight. It's looking amazing on paper. I'll definitely be breaking down that card before that rolls around on December 2nd. That's going to be a ridiculous card unless we have like 8 fighters pull out. That would be super depressing. And yeah, until then, you guys take it easy. Thank you all very much for watching. I always appreciate it.